Continue on I-90 East for 14 miles. In a quarter mile, turn left.
This guy's painting.
With any of those unless instructed to do so by the crew or in the event of an emergency. Things tending to be more relevant to our safety any given day simply involve our behavior, and with that in mind, here. Gray seals, harbor seals, seals in general, were pretty much extirpated from the state. Actually many northeastern states. There was actually a bounty on, especially in early juvenile years. And as those animals are moving around, at times there are estimates of as many as 75,000 or more of them in and out. So we're actually pretty fortunate that we got the opportunity to see them here. They actually really like beaches where the slopes are pretty steep. I'm sure there was probably at least one person on the boat giving us some nice looks at these seals. Believe it or not, there was about 40 feet of water underneath the boat. This point is surprisingly steep. If we wanted to, we're not going to do this, but if we wanted to, we could jam the bow of the boat into that sand over there so that it was high and dry. People on the stern of the boat have an easy feet of water underneath them. So, anyways, we are going to keep moving here. We got probably a ways to go. So, we'll see what happens as we move along. In that water is algae. They spend enough time on the beach. The fur is a good place for algae cover to take hold. That ventral fin there, they just kind of scull through the water. Believe it or not, a fish like this that can easily end up weighing over 1,000 pounds. Try to get jellyfish, which for the most part you can't even see. There's a nice close look for the people on the starboard side. Probably going to set down right over it.
That's the weirdest looking thing.
I always wondered, like, how do they swim? Because you see a picture and they look so goofy.
Jump into the water. All these big giant flat circles you see just to our right or starboard side. Those are what we refer to as fluke prints or tail prints. Really nothing more than a rising column of water pushed up by the upstroke of the tail. So basically when you see those slick marks, in a way what you're looking at is a whale's footprints, although they obviously don't have feet. It's a tail print, would be a better way to put it. So anyways, we think that that ability, those sounds that fin whales make so they can deal with one. Right side, starboard side.
Nice.
Comes here.
Awesome. Wow.
Alright, and if you notice, as that whale just dove that time, did you notice
right in the
its
center of my
dorsal fin was
viewfinder.
not perpendicular to the surface of the water? The dorsal fin was kind of leaned over towards the whale's right side. That whale is, again, just starting to make a circle to get back into the school of fish. Big cluster of terns coming up off the water here. Manx shearwater flying around the starboard side of the bow. Down it goes.
Wow.
However, when I've spent my time living and working on the west coast of Mexico, looking at fin whales.
Look up in the distance about 12:30, there's a big fin whale spout up there as well. So there's at least 4 of these things here, minimum, even though they're all kind of spread out. I think we are going to leave this animal behind. Might start to work our way towards this. Yeah, we're going to start to work our way in the direction of this fin whale up in the Here, Jess, 4 o'clock, starboard side. Barely, maybe 3 boat lengths at most. Right side, starboard side. Okay, we're going to try for the left or port side this time. Left side of the boat, port side. Federal and state guidelines and laws. A nice look at this group of terns here off the starboard side. Without going into all the fine print, federal and state guidelines and laws, because obviously there's a lot of fine print.
See the wash right there?
And as I said earlier, the first fin whale we stopped at, very long and narrow in their body proportions. Right side of the boat, starboard side.
I hear the terns.
Yeah, I think it dropped down a little bit here. This one actually kind of slow moving, which is pretty contrary to what I was saying when we made that first stop. As I said, fin whales, North Atlantic, easily mid-high 50-foot, sometimes up into the low 60-foot range. Not very often we'll see one much larger than that. Starboard side. And it just dove again. But actually at that angle, you can see what I mean about narrow in its body proportions. And as I said earlier, the narrower you make something proportionately, the faster it's going to move through the water for a given amount of energy. And when you compare one type of whale to another type, one species of whale to another species, most of the difference in proportion is the relative thickness of the layer of blubber. And fin whales do have a relatively thin layer of blubber. Looking up ahead of you here at 12:30 or so.
See that?
Right there?
Yeah. It's probably close.
Many birders on the boat. All these smaller birds that were flying through here are different types of terns, mostly commons and roseate.
Off the starboard side. Take a quick look at this group of shearwaters over here off the starboard side, off the port side of the boat. All these birds that are low to the water here. There's actually several different types of shearwaters in there. Corys and greats are the most noticeable ones. They're mostly what you see just gliding over the top of the water there. That bunch of birds that you're looking at, the greats actually all nest for the entire Atlantic Ocean. All nest in a small cluster of islands about a third of the way between the southern end of Africa. Feeding, kind of because of their behavior at the surface of the water. Not doing real long dives. Sometimes it seems like a long time to wait, but not doing real long dives. Doing a little bit of moving around, but if you really think about it, sort of move back and forth through the same area. So, no doubt, kind of feeding well beneath the surface of the water, as opposed to right at the surface. Side of that school of fish, and it'll lunge laterally through the school of fish from side to side. Now, as it does that, a big giant set of pleats on the underside of the whale's mouth all balloon out, kind of like accordion pleats or pleated drape or something of that sort. But as that whale drops down its lower jaw, which you can do the better part of about 80 degrees. That big giant set of pleats on the underside of the fin whale's mouth will just push the water back out between those baleen plates that some of you looked at up on the top deck here. Slowly but steadily push that water back out between the baleen plates, trap the food on the inside of the mouth. Eventually the whale is going to swallow that fish down, and then for phytoplankton. And in the long run, while the phytoplankton probably does not contribute a whole lot to the caloric needs of these whales, when we were kids, our moms and dads told us to eat our vegetables. Consuming that amount of plankton, that amount of phytoplankton, probably helps them in regards to important.
It's so cool watching them run across the water and then fly off.
We find minky whales a lot of times in the same areas we find fin whales in, but we've just, for whatever reason, not seen many minky whales this year. Not really sure why that is. But just got a nice look at one there as it popped up off the stern. Give you a feel for how big that is when you look at it. When you look at any whale for that matter, you're not really looking at a whole lot more than the tip of the iceberg. African elephant. So the little minky whales are a lot bigger than they appear. I should also mention that at least locally, and this actually applies to fin whales as well, we figure that most of the minky whales